Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, look like time has run out for James Clyburn. I think it wouldn't have been so bad if we saw them fight really hard for us. Then I think we would have been feeling a certain way that they're letting him go. But being that the Congressional Black Caucus do for immigrants, Asians, and Latinos, or anybody except for us, when you lose your seat, I can't say that I feel anything about that. Now, y'all, one thing we must do is shut down the talk about there is no money when it comes down to reparations. Now, James Clyburn back in 2023 said he was working on HR 40 for 38 years. Now, I want you to think about that. 38 years. He said this at the fish fry when he was questioned about reparations. This was 2023. 38 years. In less than a year and a half, Donald Trump already got money designated to go out to the J6ers. And for 38 years, HR 40, the Democratic Party did not scrape up one red cent for us. That is a disgrace. That's a horrible track record. And no, I'm not going to support any of you. We should support them just like they've supported us. Okay, that's the same support we should give back to them in return. And their support has been nothing all this time but benign and neglect. And Roland, you better not jump your fat ass up to cuss nobody out. Shut the fuck up. And y'all, even to this very day, when Trump came out and talked about how wrong the J6ers were treated over something they could have avoided. They could have avoided. You didn't hear one Democrat counter Donald Trump in the media. Not one. You know why? At first I couldn't understand why every time the Republicans would come forward with something outrageous, the Democrats would stay silent. They wouldn't counter anything. But I think I know why. The Democratic Party, all of those CBC members and everyone, they have made deals with the Republicans to stay silent, because it's no coincidence that no matter what they come out in the media with, they don't say nothing. That's not a coincidence. They've already made deals with the Republican Party. That's why they don't say nothing. They don't say anything. You don't see them coming out big over the Epstein files. You don't see them coming out big over reparations. You don't see them coming out big over the J6ers getting reparations. All they have done was spend years telling us that something could not be done for reparations. That's all they did for years. And waste our time with a bunch of hearings that went absolutely nowhere. So the times of y'all telling us there's no money and how we gonna do it and where the money gonna come from, and how do we know how we gonna figure out who gets the reparations and who don't? Those times are over. Those times are over because now we can come to you and the Democrats too. I'm addressing you and say the same way Donald Trump did this for the J6ers is the same way you can do this thing for us. So, no more excuses. I don't want to hear from MAGA. I don't want to hear from you white KKK members that always want to crop up on our live streams and everything, running you on by, how you gonna do that? Where the money gonna come from? I don't want to pay my tax dollars towards. How come y'all not jumping up now saying you don't want to pay your tax dollars towards the J6ers? How come none of y'all are doing that? James Clyburn, how come you're not telling the J6ers it's never going to happen? Just like you did with us. Reparations is never going to, isn't that what you said? Isn't that what you said? How come none of you are on your social media platforms, you coons out here? How come none of you are on your platform saying, y'all ain't getting no reparation? Isn't that what y'all said? All of you Stevens and Stephanies be cooning out on your platforms? How come none of you same people are saying the same thing about the J6ers getting reparations? But you had everything to say when we were demanding reparations. Y'all were all, I don't want no reparations. I don't want reparations. Isn't that what y'all were saying? Candace Owens, even though you're not even eligible for reparations, aren't you, from St. Thomas? But you foreigners always got your mouth on issues that don't concern you. But all the little Uncle Toms over there in the Republican Party, all of a sudden, when Donald Trump made the announcement that this is for the J6ers, you notice all of these Black Republicans aren't saying a damn thing. They have gone completely silent. So don't you ever let them address us about not getting reparations again. Don't ever let them get away with that. Can you imagine, y'all? Enrique Tarrio is going to be a millionaire from Donald Trump giving them 1 million apiece. His wannabe white ass is going to be a millionaire. Just picture that in your mind, from Donald Trump giving them reparations. Because I heard behind the scenes, Donald Trump promised to make all those people, which they estimate at 1,600 people that showed up at the Capitol, Donald Trump promised to make them millionaires. Nobody deserves to be millionaires over us for reparations. I don't care if they get offended by me saying that. I'm saying it. Nobody deserves to be millionaires more than us. Nobody. Nobody. And we know the Democrats ain't going to see to it that we get a slush fund. They ain't saying a damn thing. Shouldn't you be behind the scenes putting a slush fund together for us like the Republicans did? Or demanding that they put one together for us? Y'all ain't doing shit. Y'all ain't doing nothing. But the next election cycle for these people, we'll be the first ones they make a beeline for. But y'all, like I said, give them the same treatment that they have been giving us. Every time it's re-election time for their seat, give them the same treatment they have given us. James Clyburn, you came against us over reparations. Just go back and play what he said at the fish fry. In fact, there's a recording of it in these videos I'm going to show you. He said, hey, forget about it. You ain't getting no reparations. And look at what happened to you. See, when you mess with the chosen, even if you're melanated like us, the Most High will answer you. And he did answer you. You now lost your seat. He answered you. It may not be the answer you wanted, but he certainly did answer your ass. So no reparations for us and no seat for you. You will not be representing South Carolina anymore. I would say that's real justice right there. What do you think, James? I say that's real justice. Spencer, thank you so much for the 38-month membership. No more dry fish fries. You got that right. You ain't never lie. Sonia Johnson, thank you so much for the super sticker. I deeply appreciate it. Thank you both for your support for my channel. All right, y'all, let me share my screen. Before we get started, I just wanted to remind each and every one of you, there is a 40% off the entire store for Etsy, Shopify, and TikTok shop starting at midnight, May 22nd, and it will end on May 26th at 11:59. So take advantage, grab up all of your discounts for the holiday weekend. Make sure you use, if you're buying from Shopify or Etsy, either use the link that I have posted in my community tab or use promo code at checkout 40 weekend. Type it as one word for your discount. And it's a different promo code if you're shopping on Etsy, and you'll find that in the community tab along with the link. So y'all, let me get to, all right, please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Ghost Rider 615. And this is Representative James Clyburn of South Carolina, who says black reparations are impossible to implement. Anything is impossible to implement if you first believe in your mind, or you have some notorious or nefarious idea or a plan against what you actually supposed to be supporting. And if Representative Clyburn is going to leave Congress to go and support Joe Biden in his presidential election, he is no longer one of us. And we need to treat him as such, and we need to understand that we're going to have several more people like that in Congress, in the House of Representatives, that we are going to have to distance ourselves from because they are no good to us. They do not want to leave the master's house. They will do anything to stay there and to profit. And he's been in Congress for some time now, and it's a funny thing. How can we not see these things beforehand? But irregardless to that, I want you to check out his response to somebody asking him about reparations, and we'll talk a minute.
You want to know if you support reparations? I'm sorry? You want to know if you support reparations? I support reparations other than that name. Y'all need to learn what reparations is. Y'all keep talking about a word. What it means to repair. It's cash payments. Hell no. Never get it. Why not? That's why we need your support. You got a lot of power. We'll never get it. You have a lot of leverage. Let me ask you a question. You get our support. We have been dedicated to you for a very long time. Will you listen? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. You are unilateral and you are.
I didn't want him to go into some sermon about being a mulatto or not. All I needed to hear was that he was for reparations or not. And he.
All right. So James Clyburn, when he was being questioned on reparations, on cash payments, he said, hell no. Hell no. How come you're not saying hell no to these J6ers, James Clyburn? How come you're not yelling out hell no to them? See, this is no longer acceptable. Telling us hell no, we're not getting something is no longer acceptable. I don't even give a shit if it's Donald Trump. It's not acceptable for him to be saying that. And you're giving money to criminals that you had to pardon as soon as you got in office. If you got to pardon them, that means they were criminals. So hell no from both parties is no longer acceptable. So you losing that seat, James Clyburn, is justice for what you refuse to do. Let's go on.
Definitely said he is not. Now, I want to actually talk about some things. We're not just talking about our House of Representatives and our congressmen. I would like to know, where does the NAACP stand on reparations? Where are our other leaders that we need in the forefront? You know, because a lot of them have gotten rich, and I believe that they have been paid off, so we can no longer count on them. We used to hear Mr. Sharpton and a whole bunch of other people that used to be out in front saying a lot of things. Black Lives Matter, I don't hear about them. What is their take on reparations? I have another person who's going to talk about reparations as being handouts. Now, I'm going to save my statements till after this, but I do think that we have lost our African minds, heritage, and where we come from. And if you don't believe we're from there, you have lost your relatives, your ancestors, ancestral heritage, okay? Because you only think about yourself, okay? And I'm gonna point that out to you after we listen to something this guy said we need to be doing, okay? And this is heavy.
It's going to be willing to say that we can put our own resources together, that we can build our own grocery stores, that we can buy our own land and build our own homes, that we can build our own schools, our own medical facilities, and stop looking for the handouts.
Now, I believe that he is half right. He is exactly right. We as Black people need to put together, you know, and accumulate funds and build our own communities, hospitals, you know, food markets, you know, and any other things that we need to be fully self-sufficient, okay? And we can do that even if...
Y'all, let's stop trying to act like our community never did these things before. We got a whole goddamn pass of having our own community, having our own schools, having our own stores, having our own hospitals. Okay, we've done that before. And I sometimes get sick of our people act like they're bringing some nuance to us. We have done these things before. And that is also part of the reparations, because every time we tried to have our own communities, have our own businesses, have our own hospitals and schools, we got taken out by white mobs. That's all the more reason why reparations is necessary. We've been that, we have been there and done that. This is nothing new. We need to be compensated for all the times in the past, which is multiple times, by the way, not just Black Wall Street. It was done long before Black Wall Street, during Reconstruction. We need to be compensated for all of that, because that is all generational wealth that was denied to us. All right? So at this point, that's just kicking the can down the street. We've already done those things multiple times. We need compensation for all the times all of that was disrupted, purposely disrupted. So let's go on.
Every family or every person puts $1 a week together, and we hold on to that and let it compound, and we put it somewhere so that we can take that money and start building up our communities. I do truly believe that and feel that that's something that we need to do. But hold on, stop the script. So you telling me I'm getting a handout when my foremothers and my forefathers have perished and were raped and kidnapped and served from sun up, can't see in the morning, to can't see at night, been whipped unmercifully. Men have been buck broke, okay, have been abused. And you mean to tell me that you want us to let somebody get away with that? Let our ancestors down by not even try to fight for the things that they actually endured for us? Is that what you're saying? Is that what any of you saying? Because I'm not willing to do that. My ancestors died for a reason. Their blood, sweat, and tears went into this land in the building up of this nation and other nations all around the world. And if you can't see, and if you don't have the spirit of your ancestors within you to understand what I'm talking about, then we don't have anything in common. I think that both worlds, what he's talking about and what I'm talking about and what other people are talking about, can come together and build a nation. But you know, this division is not cool, okay? One of the things that we have to understand is people died for us to have a better living. The voice that you hear inside you, the peace of God that you got inside you, this is your ancestors speaking to you. It's spiritual, okay? And you don't have to run apart or run away from that. You're supposed to actually listen to that, okay? Stop letting people off the hook. We have to stand for something or fall for anything. Now, when we are actually saving to build up our communities and build our hospitals and schools and all these other things, I'm telling you that the money that is owed to us can help us do that and more. We are a powerful people, but we don't act like it. We don't think like it. And you know what? Organization seems to be a curse word. I don't know why we have to feel like we all these different divisions. Just look at.
So let's talk about the redistricting wars, the gerrymandering wars more broadly. President Trump kicked off this battle by urging Texas to redistrict and create more Republican-leaning seats last year. Then Democrats decided to fight fire with fire. California came after that, Virginia, and more. After redrawing maps in 6 states, Republicans now have approximately an 8-seat advantage in these gerrymandering wars. What do you think this might mean come November? Might Republicans hold the House?
Well, they might, and they might not, because I do believe that the voters in this country are watching very closely, and they are feeling emotionally what the threat is to our future. And I do not believe that the majority of the voters in this country condone and will agree with what President Trump is doing. South Carolina, our delegation, our House, talked with him, the Senate, I guess, on day before yesterday. But the Supreme Court 2 years ago spoke to this district and said it was not unconstitutional. But the president says he wants them to redraw the lines anyway. All I'm going to say to that is be very careful what you pray for, because what I do believe is that when they finish with the redistricting, there will be the possibilities of at least 3 Democrats getting elected here in South Carolina to the United States Congress.
Oh, so you think that the redistricting they're doing in South Carolina could not only dilute your Democratic-leaning district, but other Republican-leaning districts so as to make them more competitive? That's interesting.
This is James Clyburn. You probably recognize him as Nancy Pelosi's #2 in command, as the man who anointed Joe Biden in 2020 for the steal. He's been representing a little DEI congressional ghetto district in South Carolina since before you or I were alive. He's been in office for nearly 40 years. He was born.
Now, that's pretty sad. You've been in office for nearly 40 years and you have done not one notable thing for our community that we can boast about right now. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. That is pretty bad. No, let them go. Let them go. If the Republicans want to draw you out of your seat, it is what it is. Now, it's one thing if you've done a lot and really put yourself out there, then yeah, then, perhaps people will get up and fight for you. But those of you that sat there for decades watching these cops take our people down, watching all the mass incarceration, that means James Clyburn was there during all the mass incarceration, the crack epidemic. He was there through the whole thing. He was there through the entire thing. No, I would say this is a good time. And this dude is in his 80s. He needs to go somewhere and retire anyway. When you're that old, what are you trying to hang on to a seat for? Get your ass on and go and retire already. Damn, for real.
Before World War II even started. He's an absolute dinosaur at 85 years old, and not to be ageist here, but I frankly don't think that anybody should be able to serve this long and be this corrupt. He is one of the single most corrupt politicians in all of America. And his DEI district, which of course, again, looks like a crackhead drew it in the back of a shopping cart, rolling down a pothole-filled road with a speedball and a Four Loko. These districts are drawn like this because in the olden time, meaning a couple months ago or last month, there was something called the Voter Rights Act, Article 2, which was misinterpreted for people like Barack Obama and Eric Holder and libs to sue southern states and say that low IQ, corrupt individuals like James Clyburn have to have seats because you're all white racists. The Supreme Court struck down that law, and now we no longer have to take states that voted for Donald Trump by 20 points. Here's the margin. 18 to be precise, but let's just round up 20 points. Donald Trump got 500,000 more votes than Kamala Harris in South Carolina. The win percentage is enormous. It's double digits. This was an even stronger performance this is the strongest performance he's ever had. It's the largest Republican margin in the state since 1988. 9 electoral votes go for Donald Trump in South Carolina, in spite of the fact that James Clyburn hold on to their one little screwy, crooked-ass Democrat district like this. I mean, look at this thing. What does this even look like? It's schizophrenic. It's insane, and it frankly needs to. I mean, the reason why they draw these. Look at this. Look at this. They draw in racial ghettos. This is a D+13 district, because they have gone out of their way to sue in order to carve out.
You know what? Dudes like this dude right here, always think he's smarter than everybody. Always remember one thing. It's people like him that made the country insolvent. Always remember that, y'all. You know, but everybody got smarts and high IQs and know it all. But at the end of the day, it's people that look like him that made the country insolvent. Never forget that.
Georgia and South Carolina are the latest states to enter the redistricting fight. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster will likely call a special legislative session next week to redraw the maps there. Democrats are struggling to respond. They believe this is an effort to cancel black representation. Here's Chief Congressional Correspondent Chad Perkins.
Redistricting and race.
They've also been trying to eliminate, teaching America's history, right? Whitewashing America's history.
Democrats accuse Republicans of engineering a Southern strategy, stamping out black lawmakers.
It's about race. We've seen this before.
We're looking at losing possibly 19 members of the Congressional Black Caucus.
Republicans say turnabout is fair play, since no Republicans represent any district in New England.
I think that's a problem, and I think it's out of whack. It's out of balance.
South Carolina initially balked at drawing new maps, but the Palmetto State reversed course after President Trump demanded that Republicans, quote, get it done and be bold and courageous.
People in South Carolina are very supportive of President Donald Trump. They understand perfectly that we're in a conflict, a nationwide conflict.
New South Carolina maps could mean former House Majority Whip Jim Clyburn can't win. Still, Democrats believe they can seize the House despite a shrinking map.
There are 45 districts in play that we've identified as opportunities to flip in this upcoming midterm election.
Democrats are banking on Republicans overplaying their redistricting hand.
The American public gets to make this decision. That's the great thing about American democracy, and we're working.
That doesn't sound like much of a concrete plan, though, Mr. Morelli. I
thought I was going to share my concrete plan.
Well, but that. The Supreme Court nullified districts based on race. That's why Georgia is drawing new maps, but those districts won't apply until 2028. Brett?
Chad Program live on Capitol Hill. Chad, thanks.
So, South Carolina, the Republicans have done it. They have passed the map that Donald Trump sent down from Washington, D.C. in the House last night, very late. It was like almost 1 o'clock. Very sad day. So remember, today is going to the Judiciary Committee about 2 o'clock. So if you can make it there, please do so that they can hear your voice and see where you fall on this map. Yes, this map makes it a little bit more competitive. Democrats can get 2 to 3 more seats, but we don't want to do that because Donald Trump is sending out a map. This is supposed to be about South Carolinians. This is supposed to be about what South Carolinians want. And they've shown us time and time again that they're not willing to put what South Carolinians want ahead of what Donald Trump wants. Remember, the full Senate convenes tomorrow at 12 o'clock. There will be some protests at the State House if you want to join along at 12 o'clock. There are some county parties that are providing transportation, so look and check to see if your county party is providing transportation, because you might be able to catch a ride and not really tie as gas prices. Y'all don't forget to check them on Tobias phone to stay updated. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Across the southern part of this country. The latest state is South Carolina. Republicans are ramping up efforts to unseat Congressman Jim Clyburn. After 30 years in office, Democrats' rhetoric is getting pretty heated.
Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock said it was a, quote, 21st century version of Jim Crow in new clothes. Do you agree?
Absolutely, I agree.
Young man who was testifying against redistricting out in the South. And he said something very true, that MAGA is the last dying breath of the Confederacy. And it could not be more true.
There are people in this hostile anti-Black administration that would rather Black Americans pick cotton than pick the president, than pick their congressperson, than pick a senator.
If Republicans decide that they want to cut Black people out, this is a national issue.
I have to get a quick reaction.
I never thought I would see the day that the United States Supreme Court would be so openly partisan with what it's been doing. And I really believe if you look at all of these decisions and you look at the history of the country, I think that Justice Roberts is going to take his place alongside some other infamous justices like Taney, who gave us the Dred Scott decision.
That's pretty serious. You look at how quickly Republicans are moving, sometimes illegally, through the southern states to change the map. And there's this lingering question, which I understand why our leadership doesn't want to overtly answer, but there was no way that you knew that this decision was coming. You just took $70 million and lit it on fire.
I think a big reason that Republicans continue to chalk up victories despite dissatisfaction and what it feels like just blatant corruption and poor leadership is that I think the American public has decided they would rather have someone who is wrong and effective than someone who is right and ineffective. And that's how I would describe the Democratic Party right now.
All right, y'all. So I don't care if they lose 19 CBC members, so be it. Those are 19 that never fought for us. So good riddance. Good riddance. You know, if you would have done right by us, you would have had strong allies in your corner when all this redistricting was done. But y'all just sat around for decades. Many of you didn't lift a finger, or you looked for excuses. You always had excuses for us, but definitive answers for everybody else. You always had some excuse on why something could never get pushed through for us. But for anybody else looking for a crime bill like the Asians, you were all behind it and very open. Wanted the media to know that you were backing this, just like you want the media to know you back immigrants. But when it comes down to us, oh no, you don't want to see or hear from us. No. See, you know why you're losing your seats, Democratic Party? Because you played the game of benign and neglect and you lost. Just accept it and move on. So y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. Don't forget about the 40% off sale that starts at midnight, no minimum. So you can buy one item or 30 items. It's still 40% off. Shalom, family. Oh, hold on. There's one more. Hold on. Thaddeus Peterson, thank you so much for the super chat. They go along to get along and only care about their individual slice of the pie. But when they're targeted, the hit dog hollers. It's a combo of cowardice and wicked selfishness. The snitching slave. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I agree. Thank you so much for your support for my channel. Shalom, family.